What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man, and we are going to do a late night session today, and I'm super excited to get into it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Just a big shout out to everybody. We are close to 500 cities. Can't wait to hit that 500 mark. Thank you guys again. Just remember, it's all the thoughts in our head. If you're not feeling good today, just you gotta figure out a way to change those thoughts in your head. You gotta prompt yourself with some questions. Maybe do some biohacking. I've gotten back to doing breath work. I was very, very religious. I don't want to say religious. I was very consistent in doing breath work for a while. And then I slowly sort of didn't do it as much. I was doing it like every day, and then pretty intense. So even like a couple 45 minutes to an hour sometimes of breath work. And it's just amazing, to be honest. It's a great modality to get into and learn about, because not only is it good for like your body as far as oxygen intake and blood flow and all those things that come with it, but just the feeling of like that you get is kind of like euphoric after a good breathwork session. So I would encourage that. I would encourage you to, if even if it's 5 minutes a day, or when you like acknowledge the fact that like I'm freaking out, man, or all these things are happening at once and like the world is crumbling around you. Because it happens to everybody, right? Like no matter where you're at, it's similar. It's just the same feeling. So when you get that feeling of like I would recommend just taking a few minutes and going outside, getting some breath work, some deep breaths. Yeah, like that. So thanks for listening. I appreciate you guys again. We're going to have a couple more guests coming up, so stay tuned for those. Those are going to be great ones. They're all great, obviously. But some are better than others, I would say. Well, they have to be, right, based on your perception. But either way, this one I wanted to discuss. There was a moment that happened. I had a meeting with a potential client that I met a while back, and it was funny because like we ended up pitching him previously, but he ended up not going with that team that we had put together, and ended up going with somebody else. And then later on, I was able to connect with that other person through the client, right? Because he called me back. He was like, "Look, sorry that we didn't go through it. It was nothing personal. I really liked your personality, your feeling, your vibe, and I just wanted to connect with you, and whatever." So like there was a good connection there. So we kept that connection throughout throughout the last, I think, like 2-3 years. And then he recently called me. He's like, "Look, I think it's time to see if we can talk about working together, some creative direction." He's got some goals for certain things. I'm like, "Yeah, this is my wheelhouse. I can definitely help with, navigating you towards these things." And it's for me, it's a creative project, because it's not just, one factor, but it's figuring out like what's his narrative, like what are you trying to say, like with your business, or, with the direction that he's going. And then how can I take that, interpret it, and then obviously like help you get to that vision. And so that was the meeting, the first one, and it was great because I was all about it. I did my research. Obviously, we talked about it. It was just a really good meeting. And then like we had a follow-up meeting. Like they were like, they had asked, they had a couple more questions. I sent them an email. I sent them like a proposed, scope of work and everything that I would be able to bring to the table. And so we had a second meeting. They're like, "Hey, we just had a couple more questions." Again, no problem. And so the questions were like, really directed on certain deliverables. But for me, in the particular like scope of work or project, or how I see, me being of benefit, I was like, I can't really, like, I just wasn't ready for the meeting. Like, so the questions kind of threw me off for the loop a little bit, because it's not like I had a list of like, yeah, you're going to get like X amount of videos, X amount of like scripts, et cetera, et cetera. Because that's not how I work. I feel like for me, it's more of like, okay, what's the direction? What's the vision? And let me like guide everything to get there. You know what I mean? Including the teams, whether it's internally like our team, or just vetting other teams for you. And so that takes, there's really not a lot of like, there's deliverables, but I can't, like, whether it takes 4 or 5 revisions to get your logo or the script correct, it's going to be 4 or 5 revisions. like for me, the main goal is like ensuring that like we see the vision. It's, you know, it's like being the director of this path that people want to get to. And that's exactly what it is. Just like being the director to that path, to your vision. You know, creatively, emotionally, you know, mentally, you know what I mean? So just to make sure that you're feeling good, like you're thinking about the things that we got to think about. I'm thinking about, the team's thinking about it, and everyone's sort of working together to get to that goal. That's really what it is. So that's not how the meeting went, right? Like how I was like, oh yeah, that does make so much sense, Wilson. I see where you're going with this. I had a feeling that it wasn't like that. Like I had a feeling that like, I'm like, yeah, this meeting is kind of off. It was also weird because like I was the only one on video. Like when you go into like a video conference or like a video meeting, and nobody else's videos are on or like the cameras on, I'm like, what the fuck? like, so it just felt weird, you know. It just felt weird because it felt like I was just like on like the hot seat to try to sell myself as far as like, here are a couple other questions and like, what is it exactly that you're gonna do, you know? That's really what it was. And so like it sort of bothered me for the day, because I was like, all right, well, you know, if you have any other questions, let me know, you know. And then throughout the day, I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, I don't even know. I think, you know, it just felt weird and it just felt off. And so it was like lingering with me and lingering with, like, you know, in the back of my head, but I was like continuing to like go throughout my day. And it took me a whole day, like, and I realized, like, and it was still just part of like everything that I was doing. It just it put me in an emotional state. So right, influence, thought, emotion, action, decision, actions, decisions, and then your outcome. So influence, thought, emotion. So I guess the thought was just like, that didn't go well, and I don't think I was able to voice, you know, my value. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I was able to voice my value in a way that I was just like, look, we're just going to get you there and you're going to have to trust me. And I'm like, you know, be that person for you. And so, and then, but I kept going back, and I was like, well, I know, like, this is like a perfect project, right? Like, I was like, this is a perfect project for me, because it's like what I can do for them, you know, as far as just like direction, it's going to be like tenfold or 100-fold or whatever. So I was like, I don't know. I woke up with it. I went to bed. I was feeling some sort of way the whole day. There was like maybe like one or two other things that happened. And then I just woke up and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to text him. I'm just going to text him and be like, hey man, and just kind of let him know how I was feeling, you know, and then really just, you know, tell him exactly what the delivery would be. And so I did. I ended up texting him, and I was like, hey, just, you know, I came, again, a bit of directive. I was like, I hope, you know, we recorded the meeting. So I was like, watch the last 30 minutes in terms of what we did, because he actually had to bounce early. And so I was like, I spent like 30 minutes going over the next 30 days, or like the most immediate things that they needed to accomplish. And then it was, like I gave them like, okay, like this is what I would do if I were in your situation, you know? And I was like, just watch those last 28 minutes and you can see what, you know, what type of direction and what I would bring to the table, you know, and you can consider that like my deliverables, is what I said, right, in the text. And that made me feel a lot better, right? So that let me, like, there was a release of like, okay, I know I'm good enough. At the same time, I used my voice to speak, you know, these feelings that I'm having, and that's causing me, like, you know, fill in your vocabulary word, you know what I mean, in terms of whether it was anxiety or just like, it was just like bothersome, because I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I know I'm way better than this. So a couple things there, like really the underlying aha here, and you know, if it resonates with you, it's like it's speaking your voice, right? Speaking your word, right? Like, obviously in a respectful way. I think it's always, that's the other thing too, is like, we got to work on, not letting the emotion take the disrespectful route, right? Because like emotion can sometimes do that. And depending on which, which level of Jedi mind master you are. And if you're hearing that for the first time, Jedi mind master is definitely something we like I've referenced for a while. That's really just getting to that level of enlightenment. But yeah, so that was my aha moment. I hope it helps. It's really just figuring out those moments that like that you wish you said something, you know, and you're like, fuck, I wish I would have said something, like, or I wish I would have said it differently, or I wish I would have done X. and then it's sort of and I guess that's partly regret, right? It's like regretting not doing something. And so I think that leads back to the other episode we were talking about, like, the most inevitable thing is that you're going to die. And then the second most inevitable thing could be like, okay, I either lived my life or I live in regret. And so I guess that's where this is coming from. It's just like using your voice to speak up on the things that, you believe to be true, with the notion of like absolutely being on the respectful line of things and not being disrespectful. And so that's what it was. And there was a relief for the rest of the day. And like between my feeling the day of and then the day after, even if I didn't hear back, right? And I did hear back. And so I'll probably just update you guys on the next episode on something like that. But my feeling before, the feeling of the day that I didn't speak up and then after, was two totally different feelings. You know what I mean? Like I felt good. I felt like there was like an empowerment of myself. I'm like, you know what? I've been speaking my word. So really that's it. If there's moments or something, or even things that you haven't said yet to people, whether it's, asking for forgiveness or asking, for them to ask for forgiveness or some shit, like, or whatever your perspective is, or something that you haven't, that is in your head or in your feelings or in your soul or in your tuition, to say something to somebody. Again, on the side of being respectful, I would encourage you to use your voice, because it definitely helps. It definitely helps, and there's definitely relief. And it's just, it's just good for you. I would say overall it's good. It's like eating your veggies. Just make sure you eat some veggies. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Keep crushing it. And don't forget, nothing changes until you do. Look at me, just being a little fucking, I'm a little like, nervous. Is this a good one? That's a good one. It is a good one. Hope you guys enjoy it. Keep crushing it. And don't forget, nothing changes until you do. Peace.